guys, welcome back to another episode of the Anipop Podcast. I am your host, Jaden Day Zero, and with me is your co-host, the Lucky Duelist. Unfortunately, for this episode, Maruitsuki stepped out for a bit, so she will be back on the next episode of the podcast. And this is episode 27, which in this episode, we are actually having a very special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself and let everybody know a little bit about you, what you do?
Hi, I go by Tiny Spider Productions on this Discord. I've since changed my YouTube and Twitter and everything else to Studio Spider. And I make animation.
Nice. Before we begin, actually, Spider, or how would you like to be addressed? Do you want us to just call you Tiny?
Spider is fine. Everyone calls me Spider.
Okay, cool. So usually what we do normally is we do an icebreaker to break the ice a little bit. And I think Ducky has something good for us. If you want to do the honors.
All right, what you got?
So the three of us, as I'm pretty sure we all know, are very we're fans of Yu-Gi-Oh! So I thought a nice icebreaker might be something Yu-Gi-Oh! Related. So I thought, if you could have one character erased from the Yu-Gi-Oh! Series, who would it be and why?
Yuma Tsukumo.
Okay.
So actually, you know what? Yuga might be a good contender, but Yuma I still find pretty annoying.
You know what? I will have to agree with you with that. Yeah, I can stand by that too.
I never even finished Zeal because I couldn't get past Yuma.
Oof.
I just didn't like him as a main character that much. Maybe if he was like a side character like Jonochi or something, but him being the main character kind of turned me off from the series.
Just based on how you pronounce their names and stuff, I'm assuming you just watch the sub only?
Anymore, yeah.
Okay.
Also go back and nostalgia watch episodes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Monsters every now and then.
Mm-hmm. Is
Duel
Monsters
wasn't that bad.
Oh, okay. Like when you so when you say Zeal, are you talking about like the Japanese Zeal that you find annoying, or is just both in general? Doesn't matter the language.
I've actually been meaning to start watching the Japanese version of Zeal, but I haven't got around to it yet.
Oh, okay, cool.
I've heard Yuma is much less annoying in the Japanese version, so I'm willing to give that a shot.
Yeah, he's a lot worse than the dub.
Yeah, weird enough, they actually have two versions of the dub.
Yeah, the Bang Zoom version that never aired.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
They actually have some clips on YouTube.
Yeah, I've seen them.
Yeah.
Actually, it looks pretty good.
I don't know. Johnny Bosch has Shark is kind of weird.
That sounds like a great casting.
Is it though? If you
I actually like him.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, but I think no, it wasn't Johnny Bosch. It was Vic Mignogna as Shark.
Yeah,
okay, never mind. It was Vic Mignogna. Yeah. And I think Johnny Bosch was Yuma or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds weird.
Yeah, right? I don't know. It's just so weird. But anyways, we have I guess me and Ducky have a couple of questions for you, Spider, just to get to know more about you and stuff like that. Do you want to?
Alrighty, let's hear it.
Do you want to go first, Ducky?
Yeah. So why did you go with Tiny Spider or now Studio Spider for your username? Is it just because you like spiders, or is there more of a reason?
Honestly, when I was first coming up with my name, when I first started my YouTube, way back when, I think it was 2015, not long after Arc 5 came out, I was just looking for something to be kind of unique, something that would stick with people. And Tiny Spider kind of stuck with me. I'm you know what, I'll just go with that. So there's no special reason or anything. But I'm going with Studio Spider now because it's just odd brand for what I've built in quotation marks.
Yeah.
So it'll still be recognizable to anyone who was following me before. So that's like the only reason I've gone with anything.
I mean, I think that makes sense. Like, something felt right, so you went with it, and then when you've changed it, you've made it the same but still different. I think that makes sense. That's a good way to go about
and
it.
I changed it from Tiny Spider Productions to Studio Spider because I noticed that's a trend with like Japanese animation companies.
Oh yeah, like Studio Trigger and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
Nice.
I made it in the hopes that one day I'd have like an actual studio that I could make animation with people.
Nice. Have you like reached out to other animators to collaborate with or anything?
Right now I want to just focus on the Yu-Gi-Oh! R stuff that I'm doing. But maybe in the future I would really like to. I don't have enough money to pay anyone to animate for me, unfortunately.
I totally get that.
Yeah. This is the big thing holding me back from doing that.
So what's your like main platform that you use mostly when you're doing animation? Do you just because I do have like joined one of your live streams before, so but it doesn't seem like you're very active too much on YouTube. But what's your preferred platform?
I prefer YouTube, honestly. Whenever I feel like it, I'll live stream there. Whether that's animations or whatever game I feel like playing at the moment. But as far as like posting animations that I've made, like in progress work and stuff, I'll do Twitter because there's I don't like spamming my YouTube with like, here, look at this thing that I'm working on. Look at this thing that I'm still working on. So people on Twitter are more accepting of that kind of stuff. I feel like it wouldn't do very good on YouTube.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that like Twitter is probably the most ideal place for like animators in general because I've seen like a lot of the art community is mostly active on Twitter rather than like YouTube.
If not for that, I wouldn't even have a Twitter because I don't like it for anything else.
I totally
full
get
of garbage people, honestly.
that. Yeah, no kidding. Like, have you considered any other platforms aside from Twitter?
Not really, no. I've seen people say that I should post stuff on Instagram, but I'm on one platform I don't like already. I don't want to go to another one.
Yeah, because then it gets too much, and you have to like manage all of them and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like right now I post some of my in progress work or my finished stuff to like 10 different Discord servers already.
Oh, nice.
So I don't need to be adding other stuff on top of that.
So, a little bit about your background, like what motivated you to be like an animator, or what got you into like actually doing animation stuff?
I can tell you exactly when it happened.
Oh, nice backstory.
Oh, nice.
So like, I've always been an artsy person. Like I would, I'd pull up shots from the Yu-Gi-Oh anime and just like try to draw them to the best of my abilities. No tracing or anything, just like what I see. And like when I asked other kids at in school, like who had seen Yu-Gi-Oh or Dragon Ball Z, and like, so what do you think about how this episode looks compared to that one? And they tell me like, I don't see a difference. And it wasn't until like I was like 17 or 18 that I found out about animation directors. And like Kagami Takahiro and all of them. So I like started trying to draw more in their style and everything. But I never really thought about doing animation until I saw Reiji's Dragon Ball AF fan animation on YouTube. And I saw at the end of the video the credits for that video were like 3 people who worked on the animation. I was like, holy shit. 3 people made something that looks this good. I can do that. And so I started, from that moment when I saw that video, I was like, I want to be an animator. I got right to work on doing stuff. I'm like, I draw Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a manga, Yu-Gi-Oh! R, that never got an anime. I can animate that. And so I started drawing a whole bunch of concept stuff. My first animation was actually, I drew on paper before I had like any of the like light box or anything. So I'm like just at my dinner table drawing stuff, trying to see through stuff through the paper. And my first animation was of like Kaiba's jet flying towards the screen and then flying back out.
Oh, dude, that sounds pretty cool.
It does.
And I never got around to like cleaning it up or coloring it or anything, but that sticks with me because that was like the first animation, like full animation I've ever made. It made me so proud that it came out as good as it did. And then I realized after doing random animations here and there, I should probably make a storyboard. I got like, I don't know, like 3 or 4 cuts done before I decided I should do a storyboard. And since then, things have gotten a lot smoother.
That's good. Like I don't know how you would, because I know you said you were trying to animate Yu-Gi-Oh! R. Like when it comes, since you're adapting the manga, like how would you storyboard that, the in-betweens and stuff?
So for storyboarding, all right, so we're about to have a little animation lesson here.
Go for it.
So every anime starts off with the storyboard, which is just like how each shot should look individually.
Right.
And like there'll be like, this will be this cut, this will be the next cut, this will be the next cut, so on and so on. And it'll just be like a rough outline of how everything should look. Then it goes to layout to daiichi genga, to be like layout and first key animation. Genga actually means like original picture, I think. But so the layout artist, which would be the key animator working on the scene, they draw the background and place the characters and everything, and then submit that to the Enshutsu and Sakan, to be like the episode director and the animation director. And they approve it, or they redraw it and say, here, draw it like this, and then it comes back, and then the layout's finished. So then they draw the keyframes, or the genga. So that would be like, imagine like a waving motion, like you're waving your hand. So they draw the hand at the far side, and then the other far side, and then one in the middle. And then that'd be key animation done. And then it goes to the doga artists, or in-betweeners, and they fill in all of the frames in between the keyframes. But me being an independent animator, I get to do all that fun stuff. So yeah, that's a lot of fun. It's very fulfilling, honestly. I enjoy it quite a lot.
Like, would you prefer to be in a position of like, well, with that being said, would you rather be like in a position where you're the director and just have people do it, or would you actually want to be more active with actually drawing everything out and doing the animation itself?
Oh, I would 100% prefer to be part of the animation team. If I had the opportunity, I would like to be like an animation director. To be just like correcting everyone else's work, maybe. But I also really like making animation myself. So, I don't know. I don't know that I'd ever go for like a directorial role or anything like that.
Yeah.
So it's like you sort of always want to be involved with actually doing the things. Like you want to be making it.
I would love to. Yeah.
What would you say
Making
your
animation is very fun.
What would you say your sort of ambition is with animation?
Honestly, I'd love to get to a point where I could animate the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! R manga. Obviously, I can't do that by myself.
Right.
It takes way too much time. But I'd
Mhm.
like to get to a point where I could hire other animators, and as a collective, we could pull it off.
Mhm.
That's like my big goal.
Okay. Here's a
I'd
question
like
that
to work
though.
in Japan, but
Mhm.
the prices for animation are just way too low.
Yeah, I've heard about that. But here's a question though, like if you're trying to animate the Yu-Gi-Oh! R manga, like aren't you afraid of like getting shut down by Konami or the licensors to that? Because I know
Usually,
somebody,
all the time.
yeah. Like what do you think about that? Like what makes you keep doing these things even though you know that you could get shut down by them?
Passion for the project,
Mhm.
honestly. Like if I didn't have any passion for it, I wouldn't be going for it in the first place.
Right.
But it's just something that I'd really like to see get done. Kind of
Mhm.
like I'd love to see an uncut dub of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Right. No, yeah, totally. I'm sure a lot of the Yu-Gi-Oh fans would agree with that.
But like this is my opportunity to give like my love letter to the franchise that has more or less defined who I am.
Mhm.
And I know people question canon and all of that, but it's still Yugi and Anzu and Jinochi and everyone, and
Mhm.
uh, it's still got the spirit of things.
Mhm.
And if it did get taken down off of YouTube, I'd just upload it somewhere else, or I'd make like a mega folder with all of it, and just upload a video to YouTube saying, "Hey there, here's how you can watch Yu-Gi-Oh! R. Have fun." Like I've had to do for a couple other videos I've made.
Would you ever consider like crowdfunding and stuff to like get other animators and like pay them for their work, or is it more like you need to find other people who are the same passion in order to animate Yu-Gi-Oh! R as well?
I've looked at going on places like Casting Call Club and
Mhm.
looking for like an in-between animator at least to help me do things. But I decided that if I wanted to do something like Kickstarter or anything like that, that I wanted to have at least 2 minutes of like full animation to showcase like what I'm capable of, and like this is what you can expect the finished product to look like.
Mhm.
Um, so if I could finish this like 2 or 3 minute animation that I'm working on, then I could then I plan to go to like Kickstarter and maybe somewhere else. I don't know what other crowdfunding sites there are off the top of my head, but that'd be my opportunity to ask for people to invest in it.
Mhm.
Because without having like something polished to show off, I feel like it's asking too much.
No, yeah, I totally get that. Yeah, I would be wary if
Yeah.
if the person I was donating didn't show like what they were doing. So yeah, I totally get your reasoning
Like
behind that.
I could post Genka
Mhm.
or like the 3 second clips I have completely finished and be like, here, this I promise this is what it's going to look like.
Mhm.
But I think it'd be better to have something finished and polished,
Mhm.
start to end, instead of like tidbits here and there,
Right.
and like the
So, like,
promise that it'll get done.
so you'd rather have proof that you can do something instead of just giving them promises?
Yeah, proof of concept. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that more people would be interested in that than something that they're not too sure about.
And that was one thing I noticed on Twitter. Like,
Mm.
I've uploaded Genga and like uncolored animations before.
Mhm.
my biggest tweet has been my little like point counter demonstration with Yugi on it. That blew up a lot bigger than I was expecting. I was like, okay, so this is what interests people. The
life points.
Like this kind of stuff. Yeah, the life points. You want to see that life point counter. Want to see that meter hit 0. Yeah, I noticed that like it did a lot better than any of the like in progress stuff that I posted. It's like people can see like, wow, a lot of work went into this, and like, so that's kind of what what I'm waiting for Kickstarter and all that.
So like, a question then, like, I don't know if you were going to ask this, Ducky, but the whole, like, getting paid and like doing it as a full-time job, like fully knowing how they pay, because a lot of people aren't aware of that when they see anime and stuff, that a lot of the animation stuff are done by people who aren't getting paid very well, at least in Japan. And knowing fully that, like, if you get offered a job from a Japanese company, would you take on a position even though you wouldn't get paid well, or would you just keep doing independent work and like getting contracts from studios or just other people who want an animator or something? Like, what's your preference in that kind of in that sense?
If I got scouted out by a production assistant for like a freelance for like 1 episode or 2 episodes, I might take it. Honestly, just because how cool would that be to have my name on the credits of a big anime show? That'd be so cool. But I wouldn't want to do that as like my main job working for Japanese animation. I am looking at getting a job. I should know in the next couple of days, working on an independent animated project called
nice.
Kamen
Cool. Nice.
And pay there looks relatively decent. The character designs are not that complicated, at least compared to Yu-Gi-Oh!
yeah, no kidding.
So I feel like I could pump stuff out relatively quickly for that, and I'd like it to get big and have my animation reach a lot of people.
What do you think?
That's honestly my biggest thing, is I just want to entertain people. I want people to look at my animation and go, wow, that's so cool.
I mean, that's pretty much already me, honestly, because every time you post something, I'm like, bruh, this guy, dude, this is too freaking good.
Thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, I really do admire people who can do like animation that clean, like how you've been doing, and it's really awesome to see the whole step process, like how you do the margins and the frames and stuff like that, and then see the end result, and that's pretty cool. Just the whole, because I myself always wanted to be an animator too, but unfortunately for me, I just kind of like gave up on the idea just because of how I realized that I wasn't as dedicated as I thought I was going to be, so I just went into computer coding instead. But I don't know.
Honestly, this is the longest I've ever been dedicated to a single project before. Like, at the start of my channel, I really wanted to do like fan dubs for Yu-Gi-Oh! Arc 5 specifically, because I just loved the show.
Oh,
I realized I just can't stay focused on this, and like every time I get a cast together, someone flakes.
Yeah,
I actually just tried again recently, and my actor for, I think, Gongen Zaka just like stopped messaging me entirely. I was like, well, there goes another shot.
Yeah, like same with me, like I do fan dubs as well, and like that's kind of the reason why I don't really do them as much anymore, just because of the fact that, you know, copyright and stuff, and it's like at that point your efforts are kind of like in vain, as well as the fact that a lot of people flake after 1 episode or something, and you have to find new people every other episode or something.
Right. So like I worked on that for like maybe a year. I've been working on Yu-Gi-Oh! Art for like going on maybe 2 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Just because for I think like the first year I went in with like no plan, had no idea what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
Since then I've gotten a lot more done in this year than I ever did in that first year.
That's good.
So you mentioned like you use Twitter, that you post things on Twitter. So is there like a sort of animation community on Twitter?
Depends on how you define that. Do you mean like people who appreciate animation or people who make animation?
Both.
Okay, so I know there is a sizable community of people who like appreciate animation and like post to Sakugaboru and try to find which animator did what on specific episodes of an anime. That's a decently sized community there. There's a lot of people there. Most of them are really nice. The people that I've interacted with anyway. As for like in a community of animators, not really. There are a lot of people in that first community I talked about that have since become animators and worked in Japanese animation to an extent. But like for like a full community of animators, there's not really anything like that as far as I've seen. Otherwise, like I would totally be down for that.
So it's like there are more people who appreciate it than people who actually show that they've done it.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of animators in Japan who like post Genga or say I worked on this episode. Hope you enjoyed it and like do a little fan art piece for Twitter.
Yeah.
Like that's the extent that goes. It doesn't get much more than that besides like people posting like people who are already in the business and posting like, hey, I've done this, thanks for watching, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Do you follow a lot of the Japanese animators?
I don't actually. Mostly because I'm still learning Japanese and maybe I'll follow more of them once I get better at reading it. But I have some mutuals who repost a lot of like Japanese animators on my timeline, and they're cool to look through. I have to use the auto translate on Twitter, which is a nightmare.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Like I've been really interested in following like Hiroshi Tatazaki, I think is his name. Who did a lot of animation on Yu-Gi-Oh! Starting from 5Ds. And he's been posting tells of like drawing memories. Like going through like his process for how he came up with scenes for episodes that he worked on the series, and that's been interesting to go through. He recently started an English version of the same thread. So,
oh, nice.
Oh yeah, there we go. I'll read through that. I know like Kagami Takahito has Twitter that I don't know if you like bugging him, honestly. Because he doesn't post much personal stuff. It's all like business stuff or mostly like advertisements for stuff that he's been a part of. Like just recently I saw that he did the How to Draw Hands book. Like,
oh yeah, I saw that post. Yeah.
I might like to get that, honestly.
Yeah, same. Just because
I love
it's his
drawing
art.
hands, but
'Cause I
they're
love his
so
art.
hard to draw.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that.
I like to think I'm pretty good at drawing hands, but it's such a pain in the ass to draw.
If I were to get a book teaching me how to draw hands, I would only be able to draw hands. I can't draw anything else.
Well, here's a question regarding about like books and learning and that kind of stuff. Like, what do you think about like going to college for animation and stuff like that? Like, what's your opinion on that? Do you think it's worth it?
That is overrated completely. There is no reason to go to school for animation, as far as I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
Like, most of like the biggest scenes in like modern anime, all of like webgen animators and everything, completely self-taught. No school at all. And most of the stuff that you would learn from school, you'll learn on the job anyway.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get a retake every now and then, and like, this motion doesn't feel quite right. Can you change it to this? And it's trying to think here. I think it's a better way of learning, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's kind of a waste of money for if people spent so much money on going to school just for that?
100%. I mean, there are some people who would benefit from it, obviously. But for the majority, I don't think so. It's like, especially for like action sakuga, things are moving very fast.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need like formal training of any kind to like do that kind of stuff. Like, what I've come to appreciate since I become an animator is character acting.
Mm-hmm.
That makes action sakuga look easy.
Could you explain what
Character
that is?
acting. Okay, so like action sakuga would be like people like flying across the screen, throwing fireballs and shit, all of the like cool big bombastic scenes, right?
Right.
Character acting would be those quiet moments where the subtle movements really make a big difference.
Mm-hmm.
And they're incredibly hard to pull off. And I've been working on a shot for animation tests for the Common Eye. It's a dialogue scene. I decided I want to try to get some character acting into it.
Mm-hmm.
And I discovered this is really fucking hard. Like, I have a cut of Osiris or Slifer or whatever doing a big attack, like camera rotation and everything, big effects. It wasn't as hard as doing character acting and making small little motions believable. And that's the key. You have to make everything believable with character acting.
Dang, sounds complicated.
It is very complicated, and it's hard to pull off.
I
love the people that do it.
I don't know how you have the patience to like do stuff like that, because like I tried animating a couple times, like here and there, and like every time I get like so impatient. Like, how do you get the patience to do that
Motivation.
stuff? Yeah, motivation to have patience.
Honestly, I don't have much patience. That's why it takes me so long to get shit done. Is because I'll like, that's a frame done. That's good for the day, and I'll leave it until the next day and like, there's another frame. There've been a couple cuts I've been able to like push out in like a day or like a couple hours. That's like when I'm really into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like even like in betweening, it's not as complicated as doing the key animation. You're just filling in the gaps, right?
Right.
I still have a hard time like sitting down and just working on it. Like, unless I'm doing like a live stream where people are watching me and judging me.
Yeah.
That gets me moving.
Okay.
Like, I've got one cut right now that I've been working on. that one picture of Yugi that I posted earlier this week, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still working on the second frame.
Oh, jeez. Like,
just because I can't figure out what I want to do with it.
So, like, if you actually do start doing Yu-Gi-Oh! R, like, just one episode, how long do you think it'll take you to animate the whole thing?
If I'm by myself and I was working full time,
Mm-hmm.
maybe a year for an episode.
Dang, dude. That's like a year per... Oh, jeez, dude.
Yeah. If I had a team,
Mm-hmm.
I could cut that down to a couple months.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially if I just had, like, in-betweeners. Like, if I'm working full-time, I can pump out key animation left and right if I really wanted to, if I set my mind to it. But it's the in-betweening that takes so long.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So if I just had, like, a team of in-betweeners, I could cut that down to maybe, like, 6 months. Like, if I had a whole studio working on this, like, animation directors and, like, so I don't have to watch over every little thing. Or even, like, if I stepped in to be animation director, just watching over other people's key animation with a team of maybe, like, 20 key animators and a whole bunch of in-betweeners. I could get it done in maybe 2 months.
Okay. Dang, I didn't realize that the in-betweener was the thing that was taking... that it takes so long to do. Like, I guess it makes sense.
It takes forever.
Yeah, because I originally thought that you would just, like, do this thing. I forgot what it was called. I think it was tweening, like animation tweening, and it just, like, does it for you. But I don't know.
There are, like, automated in-betweening software, but they're kind of finicky, and they don't work on large motions. Those are really good for, like, character acting scenes, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Because they work better when all the frames are really close together. Like, if you drew a character flying and it started at one end of the screen and ended at the other end of the screen, it wouldn't really know what to do with that. As far as I've seen, anyway. I haven't really tried it out. For one thing, they're expensive.
Yeah, I bet. No kidding.
I know there are some animation studios that use them. Like Kakani is a really popular one. But they're not very widely used.
Okay. What kind of software do you use yourself to, like, animate?
Well, for the most part, I draw the key animation on paper. That's just, like, as a rule there, sometimes I'll start on my tablet. But after I get everything drawn out on paper, I'll scan it into the computer, and then I'll clean it up with alias lines, with, like, pixelated lines on Clip Studio Paint, which is so much better than Photoshop. Let me tell you. I could not be happier that I made the switch from Photoshop to Clip Studio. Instantly, I realized this is a whole lot better.
Though that's probably why I couldn't get into animation, because I was using Photoshop to, like, do animation.
One thing Clip Studio has that Photoshop doesn't have is the light table. See, like, in Photoshop and in Clip Studio, there's this thing called the onion skin.
Oh, yeah,
where it makes
I'm familiar with
two
that,
frames on either end of the one you're working on into, like, green and blue or whatever other color you tell it to be.
The
thing that sucks about that, though, is it makes every line that color, including the shading lines.
Oh, okay.
What makes the light table really good is it takes... First off, you can put any frame you want in there as a reference. And it'll just, like, lower the opacity of each one, so you can see both frames at the same time. Full color, everything colored as it was. And you can, like, like find the black lines and draw the black lines in between, and then go find the blue lines and the red lines, and it makes it so much easier. Clip Studio also has a keyframing function, so it makes it really easy to do like parallaxing scenes, like a character walking down the street. You can take the buildings in the background and move them independently. I never found a way to do that on Photoshop. But then after I get everything cleaned up in Clip Studio, I'll go ahead and do all the in-betweening and everything. And I'll color everything. I'll usually go try to find like an official image to color everything, because I like coloring on Clip Studio is really weird, especially on my drawing tablet. The colors are different from how they appear on my main desktop computer. So I'd like to find an official image to use for that. Then once I get everything colored, I go over to, unfortunately, I have to use After Effects. Which really sucks because that's a subscription thing.
Oof, yeah, no
Adobe
kidding.
sucks. But After Effects, I can like select individual colors and like do gradient on that or a glow on that, or if I could do all of the compositing and everything in Clip Studio, I 100% would. Because for one thing, they'd probably find a way to make it easier.
Okay, that's pretty interesting, because like I've never heard of Clip Studio. Is that like free or anything, or do you have to like pay a subscription or something?
Clip Studio is a one-time payment.
Okay, that's good.
I think it's around $200 for Clip Studio
with
EX.
your soul.
Right?
You have to duel the CEO in a battle in order to get
A
it.
children's card game.
Exactly.
Clip Studio is like $200 for EX, which is what you want to get if you're wanting to be an animator. I got it on a Black Friday sale for like $119. I was really happy about that.
Oh, nice.
And then
That's a
like
good deal.
the next day I canceled my Photoshop subscription.
So like this is kind of like out of the off topic a little bit, but I was kind of curious as your opinion on like the animation industry in the US compared to like, or at least the western side of the world compared to the like eastern side, like Japan and stuff. Like, what's your opinion on how the industry is on both ends?
All right, I gotta be real careful about what I say here, because the Buddhas will come after my ass if I say the wrong thing. I've noticed a lot of people who do like animation appreciation and like post Sakuga Boru and everything. They also really like a lot of the modern Western cartoons. I don't. Like, even just from like a purely story perspective, my childhood was like Ben 10 and Teen Titans and Danny Phantom. And those shows were like such good stories. They sucked you right into the world.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
It was real easy to lose yourself in everything.
Yeah.
These days, it's hard to find like a good serialized Western cartoon. Most of it, because there's that stigma here in the West, like if it's animated, it's for kids. So a lot of the animated content in the West is geared at much younger audiences, and you can tell.
Yeah. Like,
fart jokes galore. The Thundercats Roar reboot is a perfect example of that. There was a Thundercats reboot in 2011. It was really good. It borrowed a lot from great shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender, and I thought it was better than the 80s Thundercats, the original. My parents would like to disagree, but they're wrong. Um, like that got canceled after
Mhm.
one season because the toys weren't selling too well.
Oh yeah.
Because
Yeah.
there's that big stigma here in the West that animation is for kids and adults shouldn't watch it.
Yeah, and it kind of sucks that like a lot of the animation studios also depends on the toy sales, because if the toy sales isn't hitting those benchmarks, then it's like, well, we're just gonna cancel the show, which kind of sucks.
Right. And
Mhm.
another thing is could be one of those things that makes people hate me. I don't care for the character designs in modern cartoons.
Oh yeah, I agree with
A lot
that.
of them look very samey.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Like if you go back to like early 2000s, like shows like Ben 10, Teen Titans,
Yeah.
they they all had that distinctive style that was uniquely theirs.
Hmm.
Um, and that is kind of the same now, but I don't care for the way they look.
Hmm.
Like especially shows like Thundercats Roar, they got that derpy expression on their faces all the time. They just look ugly.
Yeah, it seems like they're using some kind of like software and just tweening almost everything in that show, just or not just that show, but like in other shows as well. Like they just like tween everything to make it easier to animate and just so they can get these shows out as fast as they can with the
All right,
lowest
now
production.
credit where it's due.
Hmm.
I did end up watching the first episode of Thundercats Roar. The memory still burns my mind.
Hmm.
But credit where it's due. There were some points of like genuinely good animation. The only problem with it is I didn't like the look of the characters,
Hmm.
and that's what I think a lot of people have a hard time uh, telling the difference between is like art and animation.
Hmm.
Like a number of years ago, I'm sure you've watched High School DxD, right?
Hmm.
For the last season that came out for that show, they switched animation studios, and like
Hmm.
every comment under the trailer was like, "The animation's so horrible. It's ugly. I don't like the look, cutesy." And I just like had to like physically hold myself back because like you may not like the art style, but the animation is fine.
Hmm.
And that's what people don't get is the difference between art and animation.
Okay. Okay, that makes a lot more sense.
I think if you've watched Totally Not Mark at all, if you haven't, I recommend him. He's great.
I've seen some of his stuff.
He uploaded a video asking about is Dragon Ball Super's animation any good
Hmm.
or something to that effect. And the way he described it was he put a GIF of a stick figure walking onto screen and waving. It was very poorly animated. Next to a single picture of Ultra Instinct Goku, and asked which of these two is better animated. Well, the stick figure, because it's actually animated.
Hmm.
Uh, so that's one thing that like people who defend Western anime, I can understand where they're coming from. Like some of the animation is pretty good. I don't
Mhm.
like the character designs or the art at all.
Mhm.
I know they're easier to draw.
Hmm.
I don't like the look of them, and I
Yeah.
wouldn't want to draw them.
I feel like a lot of the animation studios like just like go this route where it's like let's just do something easy, and that's how they get the same kind of feel to like every show, especially like on places that like Tumblr where there would have the specific style that everybody would just do, like a very
The
round.
Tumblr art.
Yeah, the Tumblr art stuff, and that would be like the main art for everybody there and stuff. I don't know.
See, I'm trying to think of what else I was gonna say. 'Cause I had something.
You don't like Big
I don't
Mouth?
know. I've lost it. No, I don't like Big Mouth.
We talked about this. I think it was like the last episode we talked about like Western animation versus anime, like Japanese animation.
Yeah.
And one of the points Mario brought up was Big Mouth. I think Jay might have been the one.
Yeah, it was
someone
me.
brought up Big Mouth, and they set it up to Jay set it up to be like this huge rant about Big Mouth, and it ended immediately when we all agreed that we hate Big Mouth.
Like I get the modern character designs for like Western cartoons are easier to draw and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't want to work on a show like that. Even though like it's easy, you can pump it out quickly, you can draw the characters really quickly. I wouldn't want to work on something like that.
A lot of character designs nowadays in Western animation seem for the sake of being easy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know.
Don't get me wrong. There are still some good Western animations made today, but it's like finding a needle in a haystack.
Oh yeah, I agree. So I have a question.
Like I wish we could go back to like early 2000s storytelling and animation for like stuff.
Oh yeah, I agree. Like back then, the storytelling was like phenomenal, but now it's like mediocre at best sometimes.
If you even get a story, a lot of times it's just animated comedy.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's an argument to be made for that, but I don't think it's even done well.
Yeah. So I've been thinking of this question for a bit. So like, okay, so speaking of like, you wouldn't work on an animation like that. Like, okay, so for somebody who's trying to get an animation, like at some point, if they want to get paid to do animation, they would have to like, do whatever they can in order to break into the industry. Like, at what point for you would the money at that point, if you could really get paid for animation at a decent wage and stuff, would you not care what the project is, or are you like very picky with that kind of stuff? Would you rather not get paid to work on projects like that? If that makes any sense.
That's a tough one, because like wages for animation in Japan are like 500 to 800 yen per cut of animation, which is like $5 or $8 US.
Yeah.
And it's not that much. It's hard to make a living on something like that. Pay rates for animation in the States, especially, are a lot fairer. Mm-hmm. But I don't know that I would go for something like that, just because I wouldn't want my name attached to something like it. Okay, if I did end up working on one of those, I'd ask to remain uncredited.
So you're very conscious about your reputation on what you work on. Yeah.
I feel like in school I used to be very conscious about being that one kid that likes Yu-Gi-Oh! And I don't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah, same.
People in my day job know that I like Yu-Gi-Oh! And I don't care.
Yeah, for me it's like on the contrary, like yeah, I like try to force Yu-Gi-Oh! Down their throats and be like, you should play this with me, because it's a really good game. No, not really, but sometimes I do like bring my deck and be like, hey, you should play this quick game with me and I'll show you how to play.
No way.
I've been trying to get one of my friends to let me teach him how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Like we play video games all the time recently. We're like, I think you might actually like it, and he's finally broken down a little bit and agreed to, like, maybe at some point. Soon, we'll do it soon.
Yes, we need to convert more people into the game.
Definitely.
So what do you think about the way the Yu-Gi-Oh! Game is? Like, do you actively follow the meta?
Not recently.
Okay, good.
Like, I tried going on Dueling Book last night and bringing my Pendulum deck into like one of the ranked duels. And a guy played his first monster, and I was like, I don't recognize what this is. He started doing all this crazy shit, and like, okay, I need to learn the meta. Because like I have no idea what anything does at this point.
Mhm.
But I around the time Vrains came out is when I like kind of fell off of like the big game in Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I still play casually, obviously.
Yeah.
But I was one of those people that actually liked pendulums when they came out.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was cool. And it is cool. I really like pendulum summoning. I still play pendulum deck. Link summoning, I was not fond of. Like, even when they switched back to, you could summon, like, Synchro Monsters and Fusion and Xyz to the main monster zones and everything, even without Link Monsters. You left someone out here!
Yeah.
What about Pendulum Monsters?
Only one they forgot.
Like, Pendulum Monsters, you know that meme, like, 2.5 Men? Where, like, I feel like I forgot something. Oh, if you forgot about it, it probably wasn't that important. And then Pendulum Monsters standing in the rain with the ball and, like...
That's so true, though.
That's what I feel like happened. It's like, Pendulum Monsters are not that bad. They're actually fun if anyone would like give it an honest shot.
There's this YouTuber, and he did like a video where he went through his Discord and let people get like pitch their Yu-Gi-Oh opinions to him. And the second person he got in,
about?
The second person was like, "Hey, what about a third pendulum scale?"
Just one right in the middle.
Yeah, he was like, the left side you can summon from your hand, the right you summon from your extra deck.
Bruh.
Honestly, when Link Monsters came out, I was not too bothered by the change in the field. Like, okay, this makes sense. We can move Pendulum Monsters down to the trap zones. That's fine. But it was the unneeded heavy restriction against them that really turned me off from the game at that point.
Yeah.
And then they went and banned Electromite. Like the only Link monster the Pendulums actually have.
Mm-hmm.
They replaced it with a worse Link monster, if that's anything, because there's another Metalfoes Link.
Let's see. I know people don't like to admit this, but Pendulum Magicians could still be really good. The only reason they're not meta is because Konami wants to push the newer product. So they keep all of the best cards on the ban list still, like Astrograph and Joker.
I'm so mad. I'm so mad about that, because like Joker should come back at least, because like it only
like
searches.
At least give us Joker. Joker did nothing wrong.
Exactly, dude. Just protests outside of Konami's HQ, be like, Joker didn't anything wrong.
that was a thing for a while, alongside like hashtag Free Stratos.
Oh yeah, dude.
Like, Joker did nothing wrong.
Oh man.
And, like,
now we have 3 Stratos, and I can go to sleep.
And at this point in the game, I think they could give us all of those cards back, and Pendulums would still not break the meta. It would be like tier 0 or anything like it was before.
Yeah, I agree.
And I do appreciate Link Monsters to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
Because the game needed to slow down for a little while, honestly. But Link Monsters didn't really do that the more that they added.
Yeah, I've noticed that, because it started creeping up a bit, and it's just like all these crazy link stuff. It's like, oh, here's a free link just for bringing out this other link, and it's like, bruh, dude, you that didn't help. It was supposed to restrict special summoning, but it just made it worse.
Yeah.
And
then people go into like extra link on turn 1.
Exactly. It's like, bruh.
They made Link monsters, and then the game just became who can FDK first.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So like, while I don't care that much for rush duels, I understand the need for them. Like, if you ever want to get younger kids, especially, into like the main Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG or OCG or whatever, you need to have some kind of gateway for them to learn the game a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Because see, like at this point, Yu-Gi-Oh's so complicated. There's like so many things to keep track of that it's really hard for newer players.
What do you think of the proposition of like if they split Yu-Gi-Oh into two different factions, I guess one way to put it, like one is for like they release anime and stuff specifically for the kids, and the other section would be for our demographic, for the older audience, where it's like it's more animated, like, you know, more mature, like just like how the original 3 Yu-Gi-Oh shows were like animated, because it has like these adult themes in a way, but as opposed to 7s where it's just like, you know, oh, I'm gonna break the rules because, you know,
an 11-year-old who wants to break the rules.
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh does have this thing called the Dragon Duel format, which is made for like younger players.
Yeah.
It's
But,
like 12 and under, isn't it? Or 14 and under.
But honestly, I think probably like GOAT format for younger kids.
Yeah.
Just because like it's easier to learn. There's not as large of a card pool. And there's not as many summoning mechanics to keep track of.
Mm-hmm. Do you think they should just split the anime into two different shows? One's for like adults and the other one's for like younger audiences?
I think so, yeah.
I remember I thought
honestly,
they would do that when they changed the studio, and I'm sad they didn't.
Because like when I saw the trailer for 7, it was like, what is this?
Yeah, same.
This isn't Yu-Gi-Oh! This looks like a Beyblade ripoff or like a Bakugan. It was very samey.
Yeah, I was really hoping that
I
would like.
I would like Gallop to continue doing like shows aimed at older demographics.
Exactly. Yeah, I was really hoping that they were going to like premiere 2 different Yu-Gi-Oh shows, like one for the kids and the other one's like they're gonna remake Duel Monsters, or like
they can reboot Duel Monsters, but it's in a modern format.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like
I don't appreciate when people call Yu-Gi-Oh like a children's card game. Honestly, like I say it ironically, because like the Abridged series, everyone loves the Abridged series. Like explain to an 8-year-old the concept of missing the timing.
Oof, yeah, no kidding.
No 8-year-old is going to be able to know what you're talking about then. Like it's a nerd thing, definitely, 100%. Yeah. It's not a kid's thing.
At least not anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
Yeah, I think like back in the early days it was, and now all the people who played it back then have grown up, and the game has grown up with them.
Yeah.
Every time I look at 7s, I think of Future Card Buddy Fight, because 1, it's really childish animation, and 2, the protagonist's name is Yuga, and there was a Buddy Fight spin-off came out like a year or 2 ago, and the protagonist for that is called Yuga. And I don't know, it's
I got one of my mutuals on Twitter was also very put off initially by the designs for 7s and how the show looked, but was very hopeful that they'd be able to do some awesome stuff with the simpler character designs, like be able to do cooler action scenes. And I haven't been watching the show, but I've been following his like coverage on it, and it's just disappointing to say the least.
Yeah,
like,
I wouldn't.
The simpler character designs are designed to implement more dynamic animation to make things easier to animate. You can get more done. They haven't utilized it at all, so it's just a downgrade across the board. Because like when Gallop was taking care of Yu-Gi-Oh, there was always that one cut in a show that was like, oh, that was really cool. like especially in Zeal. I don't like Zeal that much, but Zeal had some great animation, honestly.
Hmm.
Like I think with the exception of GX, which was almost 100% outsourced,
Hmm.
Yu-Gi-Oh has looked fantastic and moved really great. And then we get to sevens.
Yeah. Speaking of outsourcing, what do you think about like just animation studios in general? Just because I've noticed a trend thing, like at least lately, within the past couple of years, that they're starting to outsource all of their animation to like China or like Thailand or like the Philippines or like those places, just because it's cheaper. What do you think of that?
Well, for the past, I don't know, probably like 10 or 15 years, maybe even longer than that, like
Hmm.
probably a lot longer than that, no show has been made 100% in-house.
Hmm.
Something is outsourced to somewhere else all the time. Even the you'll got like two studios like outsourcing different tasks to each other sometimes.
Hmm.
It's like, well, this studio is currently working on this project and they're outsourcing, I don't know, in betweening to this studio. But they're also taking an outsourced job from this studio doing, let's say, compositing. And I don't think it's a very healthy environment.
Hmm.
But as far as like outsourcing to other countries, I've been seeing a lot and lot of many more like English names pop up as like key animation credits on Japanese anime.
Hmm.
I'm like, that's really cool. And like, if you want to like give people the opportunity to like work on a show and in an industry they like, I think that's great. Um, as far as like sweatshop conditions in like Korea or China or something, like it's bad enough in Japan where they have like some kind of regulations and shit,
Yeah.
but it's basically slave labor going to other Asian countries for outsourcing.
Do you think that kind of hurts the wages in general for the animation industry?
Definitely, yeah. Um, and there's like nothing that we as Westerners can do about it.
Hmm.
It's up to Japanese animators to grow a spine and make like a union or like nationwide animation animators walk out. That's like the only thing that can change anything.
They'll get up and go on strike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for like maybe a month, some studios will be able to gather up like all the WebGen animators, keep outsourcing shit to other Asian countries, and be able to get shit done. But eventually it'd fall apart, and they'd have to say, okay, pay you hourly, we'll pay you fairly, but it won't happen. At least probably not in our lifetime, because of the work culture in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard it's pretty harsh over there, especially for
Yeah,
animation.
you don't go against what your superiors say,
I think
ever.
any country where the language has a word for working yourself to death is going to have a bad work culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding.
And to some extent, that mindset is good,
Hmm.
but they take it way too far.
Mhm.
I saw a story not too long ago of a woman who like basically kidnapped her husband and brought him to like an onsen resort because he'd been working way too hard.
Hmm.
Like we're at that point in Japan where people are getting so close to working themselves to death that their loved ones are actually worried about them at all times. It's not good.
Yeah, no kidding. Especially with their health, because like I thought mangakas had it rough, but I think animators have it even rougher because they have to like do constant frames and stuff every day, and how long they actually work on it every day for those things, but I don't know. It's like crazy.
Because animators don't get paid hourly, there's a lot of unpaid overtime.
Yeah.
Because, like, schedules are so tight. I honestly think things would get a lot better in the animation industry if schedules were relaxed by just 2 weeks.
Right. Do you think, like, what do you think it's the best solution then, like, to get all this? Is unionizing the only way to, like, straighten things out for it not to be this toxic?
It might be, honestly. Unfortunately, I don't blame the animation studios, honestly. They're as much a victim as the animators are in all of this. It's the production committee that's the problem.
How so?
The production committees, when a studio takes on a job, the production committee will say, okay, this needs to get done by X time. This is what happened with the new Attack on Titan season. They took on a schedule that was basically impossible. And they've done the impossible for the most part. It's been pretty decent. It hasn't melted as bad as, like, episode 5 of Dragon Ball Super. Like, the animation studio doesn't get a say in the schedule, really. It's the production committee. Because they'll take the project and say, alright, have it done by this time. But if they would relax the schedules by, like, 2 weeks, everything would be... That'd be, like, the first step to getting things on the right track, I think.
Yeah.
Having a more healthy schedule and everything.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, especially with, like... That could be applied to a lot of jobs in Japan, honestly, because I've seen a lot of documentaries, and it's like pretty bad over there, especially with how toxic the work culture is and stuff like that.
Like, a lot of animators have a loved one, maybe a spouse, or even still living with their parents, that do make decent money that can cover the rest of the costs that they can't. So, just having a looser schedule would make a big difference. Then we can move on to, like, pay and stuff.
Yeah.
But again, that's also down to the worker. And the work culture in Japan just won't allow that.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like after saying that, I feel like a lot of people who actually want to get into animation that's listening to this might be, like, kind of turned off by the whole thing. But we said, I guess it's kind of only applies to Japan.
I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. If
that's
you love animation, do animation, but you have to know what you're getting into.
Yeah. Do you have anything, like, if a young animator or somebody who wants to start animation was listening to this, what would you advise them to get into the mindset of an animator, or how they would approach animation?
I'd say spend a lot of time researching stuff on, like, Sakuga Boru. Look at how other animators have done stuff similar to what you want to do in the past. Like, how does the hair move? How do they run? How do I animate explosions? That's the really tough one. And keep at it. Definitely keep at it. I wouldn't tell anyone to, like, stop being an animator just because, like, the pay isn't good over in Japan. If you want to be an animator and you're okay with working on Western cartoons, it's not a bad job. The character designs are a lot easier to draw than anime is. So you'll get stuff done faster. But if you want to work in anime, I would say be a freelancer, try to set your own rates. If what's the word? Oh my god. um, not condition. Talk with the production assistant that has gotten in touch with you, or that you've gotten in touch with, and see if you can work out a rate for yourself. Because if you can, that'll be a lot better than just blindly accepting that this is how much the pay is. And even if you can get like 100 yen more, that's a win.
Mm-hmm.
Like getting into animation in Japan, you can't do it on your own, honestly, I don't think. I think you need someone else to cover living expenses, or to help cover living expenses. Like, get a roommate, if your spouse or partner is willing to help cover the cost of everything else. But I don't see a lot of people living on their own as an animator. Kyoto Animation actually continues to be one of my favorite animation studios because they have an animator dormitory.
Oh, nice.
And the cost for that is a lot cheaper than like any apartment in Tokyo, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to live there for the rest of your life, you might be able to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said earlier, I'm not going to sugarcoat everything and tell you everything's roses and candy working as an animator in Japan. I don't feel like putting people through the pressure.
All right.
So just know that that's what you're getting into if you want to go that route as a professional.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good thing to let people know, because I know a lot of people who try to sugarcoat it and stuff, and they're like, oh, it's great and stuff like that. But it's a good thing that you're honest with how it actually is, as opposed to just making people dream about it and thinking it's this awesome fairy tale thing. But yeah, I think we're reaching the end of the podcast. So is there like any projects you're working on, or anything you want to like tell the viewers, or like where we can find you and stuff?
Hopefully I'll be working on this show called The Common Eye.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be doing key animation for that, so you can check for Hunter Caldwell in the credits. That'll be me. I won't go for Studio Spider for that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll keep working on Yu-Gi-Oh! R on the side while I'm doing that. I don't want to like give it up ever.
That's good.
Not till it's finished, anyway. But the show looks interesting. It's a decent premise.
Mm-hmm.
If maybe a little derivative, but it looks fun. And I really hope everyone who watches it enjoys it.
All right. Well,
that'll be it for me.
All right. Well, do you have any other questions, Ducky? Or
one, and it's a really short question. Have you read the Yu-Gi-Oh! Structures manga?
Oh, the Structured X manga?
Yeah.
I have not.
If you can find it online, I
like
definitely recommend it. It's like they've turned the meta into a manga, and it's great.
Honestly, that sounds kind of cool.
But that's my last question.
I'll go ahead and check that out sometime.
Yeah, me too, because that sounds pretty interesting.
It's like the only Yu-Gi-Oh! Protagonist other than Jaden/Judai whose name doesn't start with U, and that's great.
Nice.
Anyway, that's my last question.
Well, with that said, thank you so much, Spider, for like coming on to the podcast. Really appreciate your insights and knowing more about you. So would you
It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Would you like to do the honors, Ducky, as always?
Okay. Thank you everyone for listening. If you are listening on YouTube, feel free to leave a comment with any thoughts or things you would like us to know. If you're listening on anything else, we have Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also email anipop.podcast@gmail.com. You can listen to us on anything you can find a podcast on. And yeah, next week I believe we will be talking about gacha games, but I'm not sure.
Wow.
Thanks for listening, guys.
All right. See ya, everybody.
Bye.